Alright guys, welcome back to our follow-up episode of my first PRS match, Josh's first match director PRS match.
True, yes.
And we would like to discuss how things went, how well some things went, how massively poorly other things went, and kind of lessons learned and changes we're going to make, at least for me, for my equipment and stuff, now that I died on a hill on every stage.
That's a good way to put it.
Outside, everyone, oh, use this, help with this. I'm like, no, I brought this. We're doing things on purpose. We're going to do these things a specific way. And it hurt a lot. But we had to do it for you guys. So
watching you try to shove that tricorn bag full of lightweight fill into those TP tops was just hard. I almost was like, just throw the bag, man. Like, it'd be better off with just put your hand guard in there. But he made it work. He definitely refused to use other gear, even though obviously you're trying to do something and understand purposes behind other pieces of gear, why they're more advantageous, why light fill bags that are packed full are super hard to use. Found out it doesn't really form to barricades very well.
Yes, so little things like talking about light fill versus heavy fill. Certain bags are good for certain things, and we'll discuss all that in a little bit. But there was lots of lessons learned, and instead of just going out and buying all the equipment, I wanted to share this experience with you guys so that way you can see that you don't have to go buy 90 different bags. What I found is you really only need one, well, two, but we'll get into that in a second. But let's talk about how the match itself went for each of us.
So yeah, I'll take that. It was my first official match running as a match director. I've run plenty of other matches as like substitute teacher. This one was great. I actually had, out of 68 competitors or something, there was a lot of guys that were super thrilled with the PRS-ness of the match, if that's going to be a new word. You go to a lot of PRS matches and you'll find stages where you're flipping cards, rolling dice, running to pick up rounds off of a table. And my opinion, I'm going to, at least this year, really try to stick to that solid barricades, hard to hit targets, and make it more about the shooting than it is kind of carnival games or anything of that sort. Not to say that those aren't good or fun, it's just this particular club really enjoys those PRS stages. So I think we did a really good job. Appreciate your help setting up, by the way, and anybody else who's watched this that did. We appreciate you. We've got a lot of new targets out there. We had lots of challenging stages. Really, it ended up being a great day. As far as the match itself went, it was super smooth. We had a cool prize table thanks to guys like GCP, Coltac, Lapua, Vitavori, SK guys, all the same crew. So we're having a really good start to the year for January. I know Neil had a great time. I can't say that you came in top 10 or anything, but
I wasn't bottom 10 either.
That's true. That's a good point to bring up. It wasn't bottom 10 either.
It's close, but it wasn't there.
Yes, but actually, in my opinion, Neil did a great job of kind of forcing him to do what he wanted to do, which was like multiple times and said, hey, do you want to use a game changer? He's like, nope, I'm going to try this tricorn lightweight fill or try my little whoopie bag thing. And it was just like, hey, they worked. But that's what I think we're going to get into next is really finding why certain pieces of gear help performance in that fashion so much more than other pieces of gear do.
Yeah.
So
the only thought I have on the match itself, on your point of no carnival games, it was nice shooting my first PRS match where here's a barricade, here's your targets, shoot them. Like, there was no, like, oh, I need to figure out how to do this, or I gotta remember that. It was just a stage description and go do it, which, like you're saying, a lot of guys do enjoy that a lot. And I enjoy some carnival games, but for my very first time, it was very nice to not have carnival games involved, which didn't help or hinder me, but it was just nice to not have to think about that.
Yeah. And that's, I really wanted to make these matches more about shooting than figuring something out. We definitely have memory stages. We definitely have stages where you're going to have a troop line, where you're going to have 4 or 5 pieces or distances of dope you're going to have to memorize. That's where, a lot of guys dial the first target, hold over the other ones. A lot of guys will dial every target, and you got a good experience into the differences and talk to some guys and figure out, hey, you dialed every target. didn't seem to make a massive difference versus holding over. Why'd you do that? So you got a good exposure to seeing other guys shoot different formats and seeing how that worked out for them. See how much more time it takes to actually dial up. So all those things I think you got. Like I said, you just really just jumped head first into this. So
That's what we're here for.
yeah, I don't think there's another way to do it either besides getting out, doing practice, understanding that you just got to get out there and do it to figure it out. So match stuff or scores, we've gone through so a little bit of gear touch up. What do you think you're going to do next month to kind of increase your odds of getting some targets hit?
So there's two big gear pieces that we
Okay.
can discuss. Is heavy fill bag, like
Yeah.
I think they're called the Game Changer.
Yeah, Armageddon makes a Game Changer. There's a few other guys out there that make similar bags, but Armageddon gear is the, you have your OG, your Schmedium, and your pint size. And most everybody runs a Schmedium size Game Changer.
So picking up one of those or borrowing one, or you're trying to use that. Taking some fill out of my light bags so they actually mold the things and do stuff. Because the whole idea, I got it new. Let's run it new and then see why guys are doing other stuff too.
Yeah, you want to remove some of that light fill so it kind of form fits a little bit better.
That was a big piece. I think I would have been okay with that tricorn bag had I taken the fill out. It still would have been better as a heavy bag.
Yeah.
But it would have been much better as a non-completely light filled bag.
Yeah, and I played with it the day before the match, and I was like, you might want to dump some fill out of this. And you're like, nope, we're going to try it just as it comes from the factory, right out of the box. We're just going to give it a go, and found out what works and what doesn't.
Yep.
So.
And then the other piece is I had a Ascendant level on my rifle. I never used one before. I've never used a level in any sort of practice or competition. So like 2 stages I turned it on, I think, at least one.
I have one stage that we definitely got some good video that kind of shows how important that level is.
And you'll see in the video, I'm sure we'll spice it in here, you'll see it after this, of if it's green, you send it, I can get a hit. If it's not, I mic it. And so, I'm a big fan of second round impacts. In PRS, that's not really a thing. So that does me no good of my skill set. The heavy fill bag, or even a down stacked light fill bag.
Correct.
And a level, and using the level, taking the extra time to, all right, look at it, correct it, cool, send it, comparatively to just close enough.
Yeah,
close enough ain't gonna get you there.
we had nearly 10 seconds a shot for most of those stages. We were running 105s, a lot of 10 and 12 round stages. Actually, a lot of 12 round stages, but still leaves you with 8 to 10 seconds to execute those fundamentals and get a good trigger press on there. So you have the time to look at it. It's just got to train yourself to do it.
To remember that. And there's some 2 guys I saw at the match. They're pretty high level shooters that have either vibrating or their own timer on the back of their hat, so that way they can keep track of where they are. Because I was like, what the hell is on the back of these dudes' heads? Josh's like, oh, it's a timer. For what? I'm like, oh, it lets you know you're on track. It's like, oh, I'm thinking 3-gun, minimum time, maximum hits. Well, in reality, it's utilize the entire time outside the time stage.
Correct.
And get your hits. So it's like, shit, if I just slow down if I took an extra 5 seconds to be stable and make sure everything's level and squeeze the trigger compared to close enough, send it,
Yep.
things would have gone different.
And we also saw, in that same breath, we saw a lot of high-level shooters. We had a lot of JC targets that were on the dual hangers. So when you hit the large, then you'd go to engage the small. The small's kind of swinging around. A lot of guys had to figure out or remember, execute that patience, practice being patient, let that target slow down, and then send the round at it. I watched a lot of guys drop a lot of points just trying to, hey, that target will be right there, and then just, nope, it wasn't. All right, on to the next one. So that was definitely something. I mean, you got a really good exposure to all these different things, and then, again, watching a lot. We have a lot of high-level PRS shooters at the club, so it's good to be able to learn from these guys. And it seems like even during the regional, a lot of dudes were very helpful. So I don't think you were threatening them with points.
No,
or anything.
not even close.
So it was, young guns and the new guys. You're almost always going to get help. If you go to a pro 2-day match, pros aren't going to be as helpful as other pros because that's what we're here to compete against each other for. So. With all that said, so next month, probably bring a heavyweight bag. Definitely remember to use that level, look at it a little bit more. What else are you thinking?
So I found stability
Okay.
to be a giant issue that I thought I had under control. But when you get on those barricades and those targets, how small they are. When you're shooting 3-gun, you're shooting a full size dipstick at 300 or 400. Like you can be stable for 3-gun and get impacts. That same stability. I'm using that word very loosely.
Yeah.
3-gun stability and PRS stability are entirely different things. What was considered stable on 3-gun is wildly unstable in PRS. So like I get on target, I find it, and I get my breath, get my heart rate, and get everything kind of dialed in. And even just watching my heart rate and my heartbeat and my breathing through, I'm off one target to the right and one target to the left, and then I'm trying to bring it back in and get my timing down, or if I'm doing a little circle, like it's never actually stable. But I do know that guys can get stable, so that's something I have to work on with positional shooting and all that kind of stuff.
I think a heavier bag will definitely absorb a lot of that sway as well. So that'll be something.
Too.
Well, and that's where, if we can, we'll get some weight on the front of your rifle, help it settle up a little bit better onto barricades, and then, I've got a few extra game changers, so we'll get one in your hands this week, so you can start playing around and practicing and see how much more when you actually are able to get that rifle onto a really heavyweight bag, onto a stable barricade, how much more stable and less target swing you're experiencing when you're kind of trying to get where you need to be. So, all good things. It was a big day of learning experiences for Neil and myself. So, I had plenty of challenges on Sunday myself. I didn't shoot my best, but I can say this: my gun's running better than it ever has. So it's just time for me to kind of pick up the slack and do my part, and hopefully podium next month. So we'll see. Wasn't far off this month. A couple points and time stage went well, but just didn't make it in there. So other than that, I think we'll probably do another episode following the next PRS match. Maybe we'll do another preparation and see kind of like, hey, versus the first prep, this is what I'm taking into the game this month, and just see how it all goes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Cool. Well, with that said, we'll see you guys next time. Have a good day. Thanks for shooting with nerds.